Hello, everyone. This is JPO, and today I'm joined with.
Christopher.
Yes, we are podcast
Podcast
name
name in
in
brackets.
brackets. Anyway, how are you doing today, Christopher?
Not too bad. The past handful of weekends have just been like really busy for me. So this is like the first weekend where I really don't have that much going on.
Mm.
And I was hoping to like be maybe like a little productive today, but the it's just rainy and that just ruins my vibe. So
It's rainy. Yes,
so I'm not really doing much of anything today. Which
it's
is
getting cold. The rain is
I hate the
cold.
cold, man.
Got leaves falling in the gutters and stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We'll be celebrating Thanksgiving here, and my roommate is inviting a coworker, so I'm gonna do some cleaning around the house on Thursday.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I could clean today, but then it'll probably be messy again enough that I'd have to do it on Thursday. So
Yeah.
my roommate's gonna make the food. I'm gonna clean the place. So that's the plan. So I was, like I said, I was thinking about doing that today, but I'm pushing it off. And that's not necessarily procrastination. It's just being smart.
Yeah. Being smart with the cleaning. I have no
Yep.
plans for Thanksgiving, as
Really.
usual. You
What
know.
what have you done in the past?
The past few times I haven't really done anything. I think maybe the last time my parents were around. I don't know. It's been a weird time since COVID. Um, but like in the past, like when I'm by myself, I'm like, okay, I'll get a special treat somewhere. So one year I went to the grocery store and got myself some bread rolls one year because I was
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, that's Thanksgiving-ish. I had a year when my sister was here. We made some fried chicken. Uh, when the first time I was alone for Thanksgiving, I went and got some White Castle, the frozen White Castle burgers. It's like, it's been a while since I had this Thanksgiving meal. Perfect. I have no idea what I did last year. I
Mhm.
don't recall. Obviously, I did nothing. But yeah. So like, what I'll probably do is eat something.
Do you have any idea? Thought about it?
No, I might get pizza. Who knows? We'll see.
Hmm. Is there
Well,
something that you really, really want?
I really want like homemade stuff, but like I'd
Mhm.
have to travel to get that,
Mm.
or family has to come to me. But
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
that's that's Christmas time coming. So I'll be
Okay.
good.
Okay.
So some fun like news that I've been working on for like the past few months is that right now I've mostly weaned myself off of
Oh,
Coca-Cola.
interesting.
Yeah, so make that distinction: Coca-Cola, not Coke. Uh, so yeah, essentially is like I I used to just drink Coke like as my only liquids as a kid. It was like it's the only thing I want. I hate water. It tastes weird.
Mhm.
Um, but of course, as I grew up, I started drinking more water. It's like okay, I need to drink less Coke because it's all bad for you. And so these past few years, I've been like slowly weaning myself off by just instead of drinking the whole bottle in one sitting, it's like, okay, I'll make this bottle last a whole week. And so this last month, a month ago, was the last time I purchased a case of bottles, and like I don't have any more, and I haven't gotten any
Hmm.
since. So that's great.
So you're just
Uh,
drinking water now?
I'm just drinking water. The only time I ever really drink Coke is if I go out to eat somewhere.
Right.
That's that's the main place because their water sucks. If
Right.
I get anywhere else. So
That
yeah,
makes sense.
I have a nice zero sugar Coke. But yeah, that's like a thing I never thought I'd be able to do, and
Mhm.
I'm doing it, and it's great. So fun, 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 fun.
Well, congratulations. I got a little, personal, body kind of update myself.
You're growing. I see you're growing facial hair.
So basically, you caught on. I was like trying to like transition, and then he just went at it like, "Yep."
Well, no, I saw you. Like, was like, wait, does Christopher have facial hair?
Yeah.
That's
So
weird.
this is the story. So at the top of the show, I clear out a drop. I go behind the set, and there's an actor, and he waits a few moments before he goes into set. So we spend that 15 seconds talking, and 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 one day he asked me, "Have you ever thought about, you know, having a beard?" I'm like, "No." Okay, that's not really how it responded. I'm like, I tried once, and I couldn't really grow it, and I just kind of just like kind of negative towards it.
Sure. Yeah.
He's like, I think you should try. I think you'll look good. And he brought it up one other time, and that made me just think about it more. And he said, okay, you know what? Here's the deal. Because there was one time I tried growing it out on a specific occasion that I will mention in just a moment.
Okay.
And I thought I looked almost like a pedophile. And so I said, you know what? Okay, here's the thing. I'll do it for you. During No Shave November. That's when I tried it previously. I'm like, I hate this. I'm like, I'll do it for you. Thing is also like when I would basically scrape off the hair off my face, like no, I'll just. Sorry, I haven't really. I'm bad at telling the story. I'm sorry. Anyways, so this is where I'm at, and as you can kind of see, I have a little bit above my upper lip and a little bit on my chin, and that's it. When I used to, scrape off the hair off my face, I would notice that was basically where it was mostly concentrated. I wouldn't really get stuff on my cheeks. So basically, I can't grow sideburns, so I can't really have a beard per se. And basically knowing that just mustache and chin beard is all I can grow, I've told people like I'm just gonna look like a Korean man, and people would laugh. It's funny, but I don't think people necessarily took me seriously. But the thing is, like when I've seen like specifically like traditional Korean men being portrayed in media, this is kind of what they look like.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little
You're
light
right.
mustache, little light beard. Even freaking Bobby Lee, the comedian, like that's all he can grow. You know what I mean? And I was like, it has to be genetics. It has to be. And so a couple days ago, I did a light Google search, not super deep, but enough to prove that it's not the sole cause, but it is, it's a major factor. It's the genetics. And so this is all I can grow. I can't grow stuff on my cheeks. And also another thing is, according to a little bit of research I read, the speed of the facial hair growing is also in direct parallel to how quickly or slowly you age.
Okay.
So I don't know how, like that was something I saw a few times, and if I'm being honest, like I'm like, really? I guess like maybe I might buy it, but I don't 100%. But like if that's the case, dang. So yeah, so and also maybe it's a little self-explanational of the fact of I feel like some people think I'm younger than I actually am simply because of how I look.
Right.
So maybe that is true. I don't know. So yeah. Now the question is, am I going to continue this post No Shave November? And I'm very mixed about it. I don't know. First off, I don't necessarily love this, but I don't hate it. But I also one reason why I don't necessarily hate it and am considering keeping it is because I do feel like it makes me look more Korean. Because that's an interesting thing is I guess growing up because I grew up in America, I thought of and then also due to my natural cultural inclinations, I thought of myself as more white than Korean. Um, So I guess it had always been surprising to me whenever, and then also in Korea, people saw me more as white than Korean. While in America, it's vice versa. So in America, it kind of threw me off a little bit when people saw me more Asian than white, because I guess that's not fully how I view myself. And especially as it relates to culture, like I'm not at all Korean by culture. Um, so I guess maybe for myself, it's a little more self-convincing that now I actually look Korean in my mind, or more Korean than I did previously. Um, Also, I hate the cold. I hate winter. I hate the cold. And so I'm almost wondering, like, I know it's not much, but every little bit helps.
It makes a big difference too. Yeah.
So even if this doesn't, I don't know how much of a difference this dusting is going to make, but I might keep it through the winter. Just because, again, I hate the cold so much. And honestly, I'm kind of jealous because I would grow a beard during the winter just to keep me warm, and I can't. My cheeks are going to still be cold, and I'm so mad about that. Um, but I do think come December, if I choose to keep it, I'm just going to trim up a little bit because I have some ugly hairs growing in odd places. So I'm going to get rid of those. But yeah, I'm also leaning towards keeping it because it's not like I have a lot going on anyways.
It's a new thing.
Yeah, it's new. And it's not like growing fast where I can't where I have to trim it all the time and tame it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, yeah. I've never seen you with facial hair, so it's a little bit weird seeing that. But
Uh-huh.
you know, people think it's weird whenever I shave. So
Yeah.
no, like what you were saying earlier about you didn't like the way that you looked with the beard earlier because you thought it made you look like a pedophile. I feel the same way when I shave and just keep my mustache. I did that. I did that once, and I looked at myself in the mirror. And I was like,
Never again.
"No, I cannot pull off this look. I just look too stereotypical of those kind of people."
Yeah.
So no, I don't want to ever do that again. But
I think
yes,
compared to last time, and honestly, last time actually might have been last year, but I don't remember for sure. But I think it has grown a little more, where if even though it's still fuzzy, dusty-ish, I think last time it was even worse. And so I think this time there is a little more definition, but it's still not strong. So I don't feel as much like I look like a pedophile this time around, but it still isn't like my strongest look. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I keep going back and forth. I'm probably going to ask people. I think I might survey some people by the time the end of the month comes or come top of the next month. Just ask people, get their thoughts, because I I think in a realistic, just living my life fashion, this doesn't make too much of a difference for me, and it doesn't. And even though I have been talking about my cosmetic look, it also doesn't. I don't feel like it really changes too much at the same time. So really, I kind of don't care if people tell me to shave it and get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But also, like, if it'll help during the winter, I'll take it. So I also might experiment with that. Like, how much will it actually help?
Does your family know? Like, what do they think?
I mentioned it to my mom, and I told her I'll send her a picture at the end of the month.
All right.
Because here's the thing, my mom always asks me for selfies, and I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not a girl. I don't take selfies of myself all the time. But like, this will be a proper exception.
So when my mom asks for proof of life, I just take a picture of my cats. It's like, oh, there's your proof, Ma.
Hope you're happy with that.
Yeah, well, it's good enough.
Okay. Well,
At least I responded.
I wish my mom would be content with that. She just wants to see us. She just wants selfies. I'm like, that's just not my vibe. You know.
Yeah, I'm not doing thumbnails right now, Mom.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's move on from this conversation of us ripping our facial hair apart, and let's talk about whatever news that happened in the past 3-ish weeks.
So did you watch the Madam Web trailer?
I did not. Nope. I
Here's the
chose
thing.
not to.
Out of disinterest.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Actually, could I talk about
You
Sony?
may talk about the Sony stuff.
Okay. I'm going to get into rumors I've heard
Oh, okay.
in a moment. And so again, these things are not confirmed, right? Because they haven't happened yet. But these are things I'm hearing.
I've heard this too, maybe.
Okay. But first about Madam Web, I was like, okay, there's a possibility, a potential, it might be good. And honestly, like there was, speculation like, oh, is this going to serve into like the greater purpose of, Sony Spider-Man universe? There's, I bet, a few people wondering, is this going to cross over into Spider-Verse or the MCU or just, bringing together Sony movies together? I don't know. But, or just straight up and down, maybe, just maybe it could have been a good movie. And the trailer failed to deliver on any of those fronts.
Yeah.
First off, it's nice that it's not going to be a stupid multiverse movie, at least from the first look. But also, I am so not interested in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing for me here.
Yeah, like I see this, I see like whatever, I see the casting and I see the screenshots, and I'm like, well, that's not really the Madam Web that I'm aware of. Like, I'm used to the Madam Web that's an old lady who's blind and in some weird spider wheelchair and has these cosmic abilities to go through the Spider-Verse or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But instead we have this younger lady who's, I've seen in a couple other projects, or maybe I haven't, I don't know. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't know if I'm interested in the backstory of this mystical character. Oh, and they have all these other spider characters in as well. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's something. Whatever.
Yeah. So, anyways, so recently there was that timeline. I don't know how to.
There was a book.
No, I'm not going to go that direction because I can't confirm or can't specifically remember. Anyways, so with Secret Wars coming up, that's going to be the MCU's a better version of the Flash of James Gunn's like the Flash resets the DCU, and I've heard people say I don't know how the Flash resets things. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm just going off what I've heard. But basically, the Secret Wars is the MCU's opportunity, most likely, to, basically do what James Gunn is doing. Keep some things, leave out things, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of those things I had heard was that with Secret Wars, it would basically merge Sony's Spider-Man stuff with the MCU.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's disappointing. Not, but I think in theory, like, Sony's not going to let go of their Marvel properties, and Marvel's not going to get them back. And so, unless Disney buys Sony, and Disney's not in the financial situation to do that, there's like no other way, really, right?
Right.
And I can imagining like how hard, bargaining can be. And so I could, imagine, the MCU kind of caving in and being like, okay, it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like they want to have access to the characters, specifically Spider-Man. So like, how else can you do that? It has to be the same thing.
All Sony really needs is the video game rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah,
That's all they need.
and the animation rights.
Well,
At
they
least
haven't
for one
really
more
done
movie.
anything with that. So
Well, I'm talking about Spider-Verse.
yeah.
I guess.
Oh, well, that too.
Yeah. Anyways, but there was a piece of news recently that makes it even more concerning. Because in theory, Secret Wars is the perfect time to do it. Right?
Sure, yeah.
Yes. There's something floated recently that sounds like it's going to happen sooner than that. Yeah.
Which is okay.
So reportedly, the next Spider-Man movie.
Oh yeah.
I was hearing stuff, and things are still in pre-production. Probably not even pre-production yet. You know what I mean? So things are still being planned out. So things can ebb and flow, right? I've heard various things about doing a Holland College trilogy. You know what I mean? But what I was specifically seeing was that the Spider-Man movie would be the sequel to the Daredevil series. So like continuing the line of events that was started in the Daredevil series, and who knows if that will be the case since Daredevil is getting its upheaval. I don't know if it's going to keep its main storyline or not. But should I say the main thing?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, that Fisk would be running for mayor. I don't know where in the timeline that would be, if he is already mayor in the Spider-Man movie or not, but that's what I've heard.
Okay.
And so basically, it would be at the end of the day a Spider-Man versus Fisk movie. So that was the main thing I've heard, right?
I've mainly heard that Spider-Man 4 would likely be a Sinister Six movie with all the Sony films, but with Tom Holland, brought together by Madam Web or something.
Interesting. So basically, kind of. Well, first off, so like that's what I was hearing, but now I'm getting, and then also I heard that potentially Zendaya is coming back. Like, wait, so we're throwing that in, like, and then now what you're saying. So now this dealio with Sony, I didn't hear that specifically, but a little similar enough where I heard Michael Keaton might be returning. Like, okay, he's stuck in the Morbius universe right now. I don't know if you remember this, but at the end of yes, so he's stuck with Morbius right now in a different universe. Okay, so if we're looking at this, we currently have three main storylines: Daredevil and Fisk, Zendaya / MJ, and Sony's Sinister Six in Spider-Man 4.
Potentially, yeah.
Please tell me this is not real.
I think just leave it to Fisk or something. Just let it be a smaller scale Spider-Man, not having anything to do with a different multiverse or whatever. Just give us just a basic Spider-Man story.
Mm-hmm. I will say this. Maybe in theory, save the Sinister Six for Spider-Man 5.
Maybe. Sure. Yeah.
But I just want because here's the thing. No Way Home set up Spider-Man's future so well.
Mm-hmm.
I want that. I don't want him fighting the Sinister Six. I want him fighting Fisk. I want him on the street. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just want, and honestly, I don't even really want Zendaya attached to the movie. I don't know how they're going to do it if she's in Chicago. You know what I mean?
Sure.
What MIT is in Chicago, right? Not in New York. That's
MIT?
I don't think MIT's in New York.
I thought that was Boston.
Boston. Okay, so not New York. That's my point.
Right.
So again, so if all these three things get squeezed into one movie, we have Spider-Man in New York fighting Fisk. We have Spider-Man in Boston trying to see Zendaya, and then we have Spider-Man in another universe, or universes clashing with the Sinister Six. That just it's Spider-Man 3 all over again, and honestly worse.
I'd honestly be curious to see Spider-Man explore outside of the MJ thing, because the MJ thing essentially was like, oh, they're copying this stupid storyline from the comics where, like, oh, their relationship ended because he made a deal with Mephisto or something. I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? Are we going to get a Gwen Stacy in his college years? And then he comes back to MJ like he did in the comics? That's not really important, but I just thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Just, I hope that we get a good Spider-Man movie next.
Yeah.
Like, give Garfield the Sinister Six if they do another one of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care. Just make it good. Just, whatever.
I think I'm just really upset about, like, if like, again, I kind of understand that Marvel doesn't have a lot of leverage to get things their way.
Right.
But I don't want the Sony movies to be part of the MCU. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just hate that so much.
I mean, yes, but not our main Spider-Man's journey.
Mm-hmm.
A different Spider-Man, sure, maybe.
Like Garfield.
Like Garfield. And then, of course, they can, like, connect in Secret Wars or whatever and be like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, there's our connection. Everything's all together again. It's, like, very cool, very neat.
Yeah. But don't bring Tom Holland into this. Please, no.
No. It's like, oh, he's fighting this garbage.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what will happen, man.
It's Morbin time. Oh, so in good news, because it's been a while, the actor strike is over.
But I will say, I've been seeing some people on Twitter saying the actors don't have that good of a deal with AI.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is sad.
I mean,
so I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want people to go back on strike or if I want the strike to be delayed 3 years. I think in theory, it's best to get things sorted out ASAP. You know?
mm-hmm.
Because if, say, maybe in 3 years, maybe there's the legislation that would have taken care of the problems, but also legislation takes a long time to move. And
Yeah.
I think, in theory, it's best to get things taken care of ASAP. But, hey, I mean, I'm not the actors. As much I hate what AI is doing, I legitimately do. I wish, but also, like, I'm also not them in their world. And obviously I care about, the poor actors for sure, but also, like, I also don't care. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I get you. It's disconnected to our life.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, we're doing our own things.
Yeah.
You're growing facial hair.
Yeah.
I'm over here not doing coke. In both regards.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that thing's over. At least potentially for the next 3 years until that contract is over, and then we'll see what happens next.
They still haven't signed a deal. Like it hasn't been voted upon. So who knows? Maybe we'll come on next time and find out that they didn't pass it.
I mean,
but
sure.
anyways, Deadpool resumes production, I believe, this week. So
yay.
Also, so that's another interesting thing with Deadpool. It did get pushed, but also it's still earlier than its original release date. So we didn't really lose that much.
I mean, everything's still a lot of things are pushed back.
Yeah. Oh, and so that's one interesting thing. So this year we only have one MCU movie. Unfortunately, we have 3 Sony movies.
You mean next year or
Next year? That's what I meant. Yeah.
yeah?
So Deadpool, Madam Web, Craven, and maybe Venom. I don't remember what the other one is.
I think Venom is one maybe,
Yeah.
but I
I know.
think they're only starting to film,
Yeah.
so it might not be next year. Maybe we'll see.
But I know there's 3 for next year, and then 25 we'll be back to 4 MCU movies that year.
Well, I'm pretty sure some of those are going to be pushed back anyway once we get
Yeah.
closer to that date. But
Yeah. Well, I think it's Captain America, which got delayed a full year. Apparently, the test screenings were not good. Thunderbolts, which hasn't started filming yet. I don't believe because it was supposed to film with Stranger Things.
yeah,
So those were delayed by the strike.
Stranger Things is currently filming, I believe.
Yeah. Blade and Fantastic Four, I believe, are on the 25 slate. Speaking of Fantastic Four,
Yep. I made a note of it on Discord. The current big, unofficial but pretty much official announcement is that Pedro Pascal will be the new Mr. Fantastic.
and what are your thoughts?
Oh boy. I see. I like Mr. Pascal. I think he's a good actor. I like him in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is the role for him. One, I don't look at him and think, yeah, he's a Mr. Fantastic type of guy. He has that basic appearance that I'd associate with Mr. Fantastic. I think probably the main quality that he has going for him is that he's Daddy Pedro because he's the Mandalorian and he's in The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
But like the other big thing that I'm like, no, I don't want him is that he is so oversaturated right now. Like
Yeah.
he's got the Mandalorian, he's got The Last of Us. He was in a Wonder Woman movie a couple years ago. He was in Game of Thrones. Yes, he was the villain of that film. He was in Game of Thrones. He was in Narcos. He's like sporadically appearing everywhere in some random cameo or whatever. And it's
He's
like,
gonna be in Gladiator too.
Yeah, that too. And so his schedule is like filled with stuff. And so the reason why he might not potentially be is because they'd have to figure out his schedule. And that's the big thing. I hope that they don't figure it out and we get someone else.
Mm-hmm. I think my main qualm is the fact that they're casting a big name actor. I've not seen Pedro in anything. I have nothing against the man. And for me, who doesn't know anything about comics, comic book accuracy is not my thing. However, Fantastic Four casting could be a great way to break some people into stardom.
Yeah, I mean they also tried that with the last Fantastic Four, and it didn't really go so well. But I was talking with another friend about this, and his crazy, wild theory is that nobody else would take the role, so they gave it to Pedro Pascal.
Because I heard Jake Gyllenhaal passed on the role.
Yeah.
Which I don't know about that casting, but also I don't care either way. But like, I don't know. Like Marvel, number one is a commitment, and then number two, Marvel's kind of mid lately. So you know, and then also number three, big name actors want money. So I feel like, again, if you get a nobody, then they have nothing else going on. You know what I mean? So they'll show up for anything, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
And it really also seems that Pedro Pascal is like friends with everybody who's working at Disney and Marvel. So it's like, oh, well, that's probably another good reason because they know his work ethic. It's like, oh yeah, he's pretty chill.
That's
cool guy. Get Moon Knight in all this because they're best friends apparently. But yeah, like we'll have to see. But my just by knowing all the different things I've seen him in, I don't think that's the best casting for him.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Pratt is now Garfield
Mm-hmm.
in the new Garfield movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was just Mario. Like, really? Do we really need him to be Garfield now?
You didn't know about this?
I didn't know about this until like they announced the trailer coming. Like the
Really?
trailer's the next day. Guess what? Chris Pratt is Mario. I was like, what the? Sorry, Chris Pratt is Garfield. I was like,
I didn't
what
know
the
you
heck?
didn't know about this because
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I've known about this for a bit.
Okay. Well, my gosh. Chris Pratt. Like he's like Pedro Pascal in that
Yeah.
he's oversaturated as well.
I agree.
And it's like I'm tired of these celebrity voice actors. You know, Chris Pratt is like he did the Lego movie first before he became famous. But, you know, whatever.
I think Chris Pratt has been like one of the worst people to cast lately because you're not giving him anything to work with. I want to see him in something where he has to work for his role. You know what I mean? Because I didn't watch the trailer, but I heard in the Garfield trailer he just sounds like Chris Pratt. In Mario, he just sounds like Chris Pratt. I heard. And so I guess maybe like if he was given more of a character where he could actually be a character and not just be him, I guess. I think that'd be better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't blame him for gaining a paycheck. It's just, I don't know. Get him better things, I guess.
Yeah. As much as like I enjoy Chris Pratt at a basic level, it's like I don't really want to see him casting and everything. It's like, oh, him as Garfield. Again, he was just Mario, and he was just Guardians. Like I've seen him too much.
Mm-hmm.
Why? But whatever. So Warner Brothers, they be they be kind of they be kind of silly lately.
Yeah.
With so they were about and practically have written off the new Coyote and versus Acme, the Roadrunner Looney Tunes film that was again pretty much done and actually tested really well with audiences. And they were like, nah, we're gonna throw that aside as a tax write-off. But they were also complaining, is like, what's going on? We're having trouble like getting the children audience. Like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, you're like getting rid of all the kids' content. Like, why are you questioning this?
Mm-hmm.
But good news on them is that they're allowing them to shop the film to another studio because of all the back, not just the cries from the fans and such, but just like professional people are at like done. They're canceling meetings with Warner Brothers. Some politician is fed up and is like, we got to make a legislation about this kind of crap because it's horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a couple things. It's like if they don't want to like do stuff, they should just make it public domain. And it's like not the worst idea, but like that's not gonna happen because IPs and all that. But
also, if they're getting tax write-offs, then that's our movie now.
Except true, but the problem is the character of the Coyote and
no, I just want to see Batgirl.
see Batgirl. She's a DC character.
I care. Give me the files. I paid for it.
See, I want that too, but I understand why legally they can't do that because they have to pay for the IP.
I'm just messing around. I hate I don't understand. One day I want to do more research into it, but I don't understand this whole tax write-off thing. Like, you spent the money, suck it up. You know what I mean?
It's like
I want a tax write-off my life. Please?
right. It's like I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. everything they're saying and doing is so contradictory. It's it's whack. I don't care.
I found it crazy because like I feel like the day before there was like I saw an interview like thing on Twitter. So again, it was just one tweet, so I didn't see it repeated in multiple tweets. But Christopher Nolan said that he is, open to working with Warner Brothers again. And then the next day this Coyote thing happens. And I bet Chris Nolan kind of like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's so frustrating. But I mean, honestly, I'm glad that because of the outcry on Twitter, now Warner Brothers like, okay, we'll ship it to people. Oh, sorry, shift. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you
So,
mean.
so I'm glad that it has a potential, and I hope that if it gets a theatrical release, I hope it does so well.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, oh no, not this Looney Tunes films. Oh, John Cena's in it? Okay. It might do fine. I don't know. I'm not really the biggest Looney Tunes guy as I once was as a tiny kid, but I don't want anything to just be written off as a tax write-off because whatever reason. It's like, oh, we don't think it's gonna succeed well. It's like, oh, okay, well, okay, whatever. I don't know why you thought that, for whatever reason, but whatever. Anyway, so in terms of things that I've been watching, I haven't been watching a whole lot of films, shows. I mainly just been doing Netflix stuff, YouTube stuff. But like films that I've watched, I watched a couple of Godzilla films because like the new Apple TV show was coming out. I'll talk a little bit about that later. I've been doing a new thing on YouTube where I'm going over the old classic My Little Pony shows, and I'm going to be talking about that. I've got an episode out on that on whatever, and so I watched the movie, the '80s movie, and as part of that, it's a thing. And then also because the new Scott Pilgrim show, anime show coming on Netflix, it's like, okay, I'll watch the film and compare it to the show, and it was fun and all. But in terms of the shows, uh, continuing with Scott Pilgrim, the show it's pretty good, but like they were deceptive in their marketing, in that they were essentially marketing this as, oh, this is a retelling of that comic book that we all have been wanting and been saying that we want this thing for years now. And then we watch it, and it's like, oh no, it's not that. The first episode, your character, quote unquote, gets killed off, and the rest of the show is like surrounding that event. And it's like, wait, but you said this, but why? They did this. They did the same exact tactic with the Master of the Universe cartoon, and it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. The show is actually good, but like they lied to us about what it was, and I was completely disappointed by the entire time because I was really wanting to see the other thing. I liked what we got, but they really should have just said up front, "This is what you're getting."
Yeah.
And there's also the new Godzilla show thing, and there's only 2 episodes out. It's fine. It's like it's pretty much what you expect for like the human plot line for a Godzilla film, but this is like better than most of them. But it's still, I don't really care, but it's fine.
Why is it not called Godzilla?
Because it's called Monarch. It's based off of this certain government group that appears in those films, and this is kind of like the backstory of that group or whatever. Godzilla will get like an appearance in the final episode, I'm sure.
Why isn't it called like Monarch Godzilla story? You know what I mean?
Because it's Legacy of Monsters, because it's mostly about them looking for monsters, and Godzilla just so happens to be one of those monsters that'll show up in the finale, I'm sure. It's a thing. Like you'd understand if you like had watched all the films, for sure. Like you'd understand, but still.
Anything else?
That's pretty much Like the rest of the stuff that I've been watching has just been more like comfort watching. So just like
Monster High. That's been comfort watching.
no, that's a podcast. But like I'll watch an episode of like the Justice League cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also rewatching the old Powerpuff Girls cartoon, just like whenever I feel like, oh, I'll watch something fun, I'll pop an episode of Powerpuff Girls or whatever. It's like, yeah, here you go, fun times.
Mm-hmm. So I thought of something.
You have thoughts.
I've mentioned me wanting to rewatch Batman versus Superman at some point.
Mm.
I don't know when I'm gonna do that. My roommate, he's like he wants to watch everything, but he's always and he's kind of like down for most anything. But the one thing he says he does not want to rewatch is Batman versus Superman. And so I always threaten about it, and like when he comes home from work, he says, "Guess what I did?" He says, "What?" And I'm like, "I watched Batman versus Superman." I still haven't done it. I still intend to at some point. I don't know when. I actually was kind of thinking maybe I'll wait until January when I'm actually off and like just have like just general time off. You know, more. Obviously, I'll be productive, but I'll have like actual time to burn. You know what I mean? Well,
Sure.
right now
Yeah.
I kind of just want to relax it for the work week. Anyways, but then I had a thought. Oh, then this is the actual good opportunity to watch the Justice League. So, you were a little like upset that I didn't last time, and I think this will be the opportunity to do that. So after I rewatch Batman vs Superman, I'll watch the Justice League. And then my roommate hasn't seen Snyder's Justice League yet. So then after I rewatch Batman vs Superman, we'll probably hit that at some point. And I think that I'll approach as a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see. I'll talk to him and see what he says. But honestly, like, and my roommate isn't, like, obviously he doesn't want to rewatch Batman vs Superman, so he's not a fan. So I doubt he'd want to sit down for 4 hours to watch it. So I think approaching it as a TV show is the best way. Yeah.
So this reminds me
Mm-hmm.
that Netflix is getting a bunch of DC
Yeah.
movies next month.
And we know why. Warner Brothers don't have money.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yay, cool. But I already watched them all this year, so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe I'll watch one that I like or something. I don't know the full catalog if it's all of them or just a handful of them.
Like 7 of them or something. It's crazy.
Oh.
And then I just saw The Flash is confirmed to be on Prime Video. So funny.
Is it on Prime?
No, on December 25th.
Oh.
So
Yay,
it's just so
Christmas.
funny. All right, what I've watched. Me and my roommate are currently going through on Apple TV Plus a TV show called Pachinko. It's good. I don't love it as much as my roommate does. It's my second time watching it. I want to show it to him. But like the way they tell their story, I love. All right. When was the last time we talked?
So we last talked at like pretty much Halloween, so you talked about basketball.
Oh, I did. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what I watched in November. We watched my roommate's favorite movie of all time. It's called About Time. Have you seen that movie?
No.
No. It's solid. I don't love it as much as my roommate does. but it's solid. Also, Rachel McAdams, she's pretty cool. Next movie we watched is Spirited Away. I was very tired when we watched this movie, so and also I didn't like it as much as Howl's Moving Castle. So mixed those two into it.
Yeah, for me, I felt like the film was very overrated because everyone's always like, "Oh, Spirited Away," and they have all these stickers of like some of the characters, and then I watch it, it's like, oh, well, this isn't as exciting as other films. And again, like I mentioned in the last podcast, like Ghibli speaks to different people on different levels, and so some films speak to you more than other films. This is one of the ones where it didn't really speak to me. So,
next up, Memories of Murder. This is from the director of the guy who did Parasite.
yeah.
Really solid. For a movie that has to do about rape and murder cases, this movie had some absurdist moments that had me dying laughing. Like there were one or two moments. I'm not calling the movie a comedy, but I was like, because the gravity of the situation is very, dark and deep. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then there's a couple absurdist moments. It's not necessarily the movie trying to be funny per se. It's literally just the characters acting as characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're doing what they think is best in the situation, and it's just so absurd. And oh my god, there were moments where I was just like, I should not be laughing. It was kind of wild, but it's I recommend it. Obviously, I'm not. I think like when we were talking about like Everything Everywhere All at Once, I was really like, okay, I really need to get your thoughts on that thing. I'm not gonna go to that extreme with this movie for you, but I recommend it. Really well done, and I also think like subsequent watches I'll like it even more. Then we watched Talk to Me. This was a movie my roommate had seen, and he really wanted me to watch it, and I watched it. And one thing I didn't know about Talk to Me is that it's actually an allegory of how like how people like abuse substances and then they rely on it. When they're trying to get over loss, and so like it's a very good allegory. Not in love with the movie, but good allegory.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, so TV show, but I was able to log it on Letterboxd. Loki. Loki finished. Again, I've said this before. The show is way too wrapped up in its own lore. I am confused by it. I also don't understand it. I also don't really care for it. It hindered my enjoyment. However, they wrapped up. Now I 100% believe Loki's coming back, but they wrapped up his character arc so well. A lot of people, for the longest time, had, especially with the first season, were like, Loki's character development, and I guess I couldn't really see it,
Yeah.
but he makes a choice at the end of the show. You might have seen it on Twitter. I don't know, but I'm not going to spoil it. But he makes a choice. Dare I say, a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the fact is that the Loki we were first introduced to, if we're being honest, in all the first 3 Thor movies, he is selfish. He would never make a sacrifice for someone else. And so in here, he makes a significant sacrifice, if not in the eyes of the show, the ultimate sacrifice. And it truly was a great conclusion to, or a great character arc. So that, honestly, I strongly commend. Yeah, wrapping up a story well. Good job. Then I watched a Korean movie called Dream, which featured idol soloist named IU. That was the main draw of the movie, and that's what I'm like. My roommate telling my roommate like this is what we should watch because of her in it. What I didn't tell him is that the lead actor is also in the Marvels. So that was a fun surprise for him when he watched the Marvels because he didn't know. I knew from like 2 years ago or something. I don't remember when it was announced, but like that he was going to be in the movie. And then I realized, oh dang, he's in Dream. Sweet. Like I realized it's like an hour before I chose the movie. Basically, like I'm going to do this. Anyways, Dream is solid. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on it. If I think here's the thing, like if you as an American, if you look at like what this movie's about, I feel like there's a little bit of like basically if this has a Korean charm to it that hits differently than if it was done by America, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Yeah.
So if I'll say like if you feel like this is going to be a somewhat typical movie, there's a charm to it that you're not going to see in an American movie. So that might be a draw for you. It might not be. I don't know. Just putting it out there. I think you read the synopsis, you get the idea, and if you want to watch it, then watch it. I will say, shit. There was something at the end that was really annoying to me. I don't want. Okay, so basically, okay, so basically, there's this like international homeless soccer tournament. So basically, like that's what this movie is prepping for. Like they gathered like some homeless people, and kind of like the idea of that story, right? You know, grab random people together. This is the Korean soccer's version of Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And so they're in a foreign country, and so there's an announcer speaking in English, like most of the movies in Korean, but this announcer guy's speaking English, which I guess fine. You're not even in an English speaking country. He was so annoying. So annoying. This is when this is the thing about like using international aspects in your media is that let's say I as an American want to feature a French person, but what if I just did like the bare minimum, and then what if French people saw my project and be like, that's not French, that's not us, we are poorly represented there. But it fits more in line with like the American stereotype of what we think the French are and not what it actually is. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so sometimes when things are done wrong on an international basis, like things just are not done well. And yeah, it was so annoying. It was just not good. So that's a pet peeve right there. And I bet I'm gonna see that again in Korean content. This will not be the only time. I don't know how bad or better it's gonna be, but yeah. Anyways, next is the Marvels. Oh, by the way, sorry, Dream also reminded me a bit of the Ted Lasso show. But you know what Ted Lasso doesn't have? It doesn't have humor, which it's labeled as a comedy. It really doesn't make me laugh. It doesn't have humor, and it doesn't have IU. Queen IU, you know what I mean? Anyways, sure. The Marvels. I guess my expectations were low and dumb enough where I'm just like, whatever. You know what I mean? I went for Miss Marvel. I love her. That was the reason why I watched the movie, and I really don't have a lot of like cognitive thoughts about the movie, if I'm being honest. I just went in to see like, okay, what things are we gonna wrap up within the MCU? What things are we gonna open up for the MCU? I want to see Miss Marvel. Those were the things I was going into the movie, so I wasn't very cognitive about how good or bad it was. It wasn't good, I'll say that, but it wasn't horrible. But also there were a lot of missed opportunities. Like there were a lot of like ideas that were in the movie that weren't fully developed. That really sucked. Um, yeah, and then also, uh, this movie is supposed to happen after Nick Fury was in Secret Invasion. If you didn't watch Secret Invasion, it would just be, oh, it's Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
It's so jarring. There's no consistency. It's honestly maddening. It's really frustrating. I don't know. There is hidden inside a good movie, legitimately. There's some great ideas presented that are not fully developed, and it really sucks. And then, not to mention, a piece of news, it is, it has the worst, opening weekend for an MCU movie. It has the worst second week drop for a superhero movie. That really sucks, because if we're being honest, I know this movie isn't good per se, but this movie also, I don't feel like really deserved that low. You know what I mean? Because
Maybe. I
it's
don't
a
know.
it's a relatively inoffensive movie, and I love Miss Marvel. Anyways, then we watched Les Miserables, the '98 version, starring Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you
This is
seen it?
I prefer this version over the musical.
Okay, I've not seen the musical version. What's interesting is because I work at a theater, they all they know is the musical. That's Les Mis
Yeah.
to them. It's not a book. It's not Liam Neeson. It's a musical. Doesn't matter if it's a movie or a theatrical production. It's a musical. It's just so interesting to me. Did you have thoughts? Or that was just
About the film or just
yeah.
I mean, I watched this one, oh, I dare say, like a decade ago.
Oh.
So it was for a class, an English class, where they were just showing us something from literature. It's like, oh, instead of reading the entire crap of it, we're just gonna watch a film.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it like a Bible class? And it's like, oh, let's talk about the emotional journey of our main character becoming the selfish man that he is, and he's being saved by Christianity and all that jazz, um, and whatnot. But yeah, I watched this film and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you watch the musical and it's like, oh, all the themes and nuances are just not as strong.
Mm.
It's like they have the wrong choice of actors to play the parts. Like Javert in the musical is a travesty. Oh,
Mm.
such a travesty. Like, have you
Mm.
ever watched the musical?
Are you talking about the musical or the movie?
The,
Musical.
the movie musical
Okay.
specifically. Like, I'm pretty sure the theatrical, the actual show itself is fine and good and
Mm-hmm.
dandy, but like the film itself has some issues.
Gotcha. Yeah. This my dad gave this movie to me for my birthday. This is one of his favorite movies, and it's basically because of Javert's, character. And yeah, it's honestly incredible. And my roommate was a little let down by it because he read an abridged version of the book, which, in theory, the musical kind of follows more in line with the book than this movie. But um, I I think they did a good job of taking the elements of the story and telling a good story. I am curious one day to watch the musical to see what is a little more reflective of the book.
Get to see
But
Hugh Jackman be his musical theater side.
which is weird because I did see The Greatest Showman, but that was before I knew who Hugh Jackman was.
Mm.
And I don't really care to watch The Greatest Showman again, if I'm being honest. Yeah, so I do agree that like the boy that his daughter fell in love with, his character was very just nothing. Because I hear like in the book, the second half of the book, folk is more from his perspective, and same with the musical. So I think that'd be very interesting to see like his character more fleshed out. But also, I do recognize that in this telling of the story,
Hmm.
that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
But also, his character was a little too flat. Regardless, I think they told a great story in the movie. Next, dang, we watched 3 movies that day. Is Snowpiercer, starring Chris Evans. Have you seen this movie?
I have not. No.
I recommend this movie, man. This is my favorite movie of the bunch here.
Okay.
This is again from the director of Parasite. It's on Netflix. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this. It is based on like a French comic from like the 90s or something, so it's not purely his brainchild. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I
I've heard
really,
decent things about it.
yeah, I
The
think
main thing I've heard about it is that it's like secretly a sequel to Willy Wonka.
I've heard that too, but I don't know anything about Willy Wonka, so I can't confirm or deny. But basically, I love the world that was created. Very fascinating. If and I don't know, you like some action, so this might have some action you might like. And though I will say, so have I talked about the Korean rating system before?
No,
Okay, so sorry for. I feel like I'm taking so long. I apologize.
it's fine.
Okay, yay. Um, so in America we have G, PG, PG-13, and R, and
And
X.
NC-17. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess NC-17. I said X, but I'm like, I guess we usually use NC-17. Anyways, point is, we mostly focus on the PG-13, and R. Honestly, we don't even really have that many PG movies these days. It feels like mostly just like the children's stuff. Um, anyways, um, in Korea, they have all ages 12, 15, and 18, and like a restricted something. I don't really know much about that, but so basically 12, 15, and 18. So like 15 is like their PG-13. However, more teeth is allowed in a 15 than an American PG-13. So I'll give some movie examples of what is what. So something like Deadpool, those are 18s. That has more graphic gore and violence to them. Something like Batman Begins, that's a 12. Something like a Marvel, most I think all the Marvel movies I've looked at, including Guardians of the Galaxy, have been 12s. Batman Begins 12. But however, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises are 15s. Same with The Batman, that's a 15. Um, Surprisingly, Snyder's Justice League, from what I'm seeing, is a 12. That surprised me.
Okay.
I do want to double check on that, but I also can't confirm that Batman versus Superman, at least a theatrical cut, is a 12. Um, there is a little gameplay of maturity of subject, but also like I do feel like the if when it relies more on heavy violence and gore, like that is a for sure 18. Um, I I'm still like I guess like I was a little surprised Guardians 3 was a 12. So I don't really know like why some movies get a 12. You know what I mean? Like Justice League. Um, yeah. Anyways, so Snowpiercer. Well, okay, there's a handful like Korea 15 movies that simply like Parasite. That's a 15 in Korea. It has some language, has a little bit of violence at the end, but in America it's an R. I think even if we took out the language, I think the violence at the end is too graphic enough for it to be a PG-13, specifically on the blood front. Because PG-13 movies are pretty, or at least Marvel movies, are pretty devoid of blood. You know what I mean? Um, so but in Korea, Parasite is a 15, and so is Snowpiercer. So it's really interesting that it can be a little grisly, but also like the action is relative. Like there's one gritty part, but it's not really on screen. You know what I mean? It's really interesting.
Sure.
So Snowpiercer is a Korea 15, and you can kind of tell because it almost feels like in America, it almost feels like they're going for a PG-13, except the fact that there's language and there's blood. It's really strange, but no, they were going for the Korea 15. It's really fascinating. However, on that point, now, like Talk to Me is a 15, Memories of Murder is 15. So now with this 15 that has a handful of like R-rated American movies in that 15 category. Now that's my new class. That's my new floor or ceiling. Sorry, that's my new ceiling. Where before there was like a hesitation about R-rated movies. Now I have a hesitation about 18-rated movies because now I have this assumption that if it's an 18, then it probably does rely more on its gore and violence than other movies would. Now I kind of do a little both where I'll check if it's an 18. If it's an 18, I'll go on IMDb and see like if it's labeled as severe.
Sure.
I mean, there have been 15s that have been labeled severe on IMDb, but I'm kind of like, it's probably not that bad. Which I mean, there was a scene in Talk to Me where I did cover my eyes for, and I'm glad I did, even though it's a 15. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. So like whether it's Korean or American, if it's specifically American, like on Netflix, so many Korean things are slapped with TVMA, and it's probably due to language. But in Korea, it's a 15, not an 18. You know what I mean? So I've been just for R-rated stuff or TVMA stuff or just many things. I've just been looking at the Korea rating, like, oh, it's a 15. I'll watch it. 18,
so
probably not.
speaking of TVMA, we got our trailer for Echo.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about that.
We forgot about Echo. I mean, to be honest, like we always forget that Echo exists, but
yeah,
their main selling point for like the first trailer is like, we're TVMA, so we're gonna show you like the scary imagery, the blood on Fisk's hands and all. And then of course there's also the controversy that the director of the show was like, oh yeah, the Echo in the show doesn't have the powers in the comic because we thought that they were lame. And the power in the comics is that she copies the abilities of superheroes via Echo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what are you talking about lame? That sounds pretty cool. But like generally that's just bad to say that.
Yeah.
Or do that in general. It's like, why were you hired for this film? You think that the main character you're adapting is lame? Then why? Why are you here?
But I will say what I'm hearing about what they are doing with Echo sounds interesting. Plus, also we have Taskmaster, which I mean doesn't really do what the copying thing, but like that is almost like the character to do copying with. So I guess it kind of is nice to have a character that is doing something else.
But like, just that's
but
just
I see
not
what
the
you're saying.
marketing
Like
that you should go
saying the
with.
word lame is not the best way to market something.
Yeah, especially if that's what you think of the thing you're adapting, then you shouldn't be working on the thing you're adapting. It shows that you don't really care for the material. So,
what are your thoughts on the trailer, though?
It just looked like a cry for help. It's like, they're just trying to be edgy, is what I got. Sure, yeah, the Fisk stuff looked pretty cool, and the audio editing of the trailer was pretty nice. But like, I don't know, I didn't really see anything I cared about, so besides Daredevil and Fisk, but that's about it.
It'll be interesting for sure. I guess for me, like I'm not watching Marvel for TVMA or R-rated stuff. Which, by the way, also Blade's been confirmed as an R as well. So like that's not, So I'm not necessarily excited about that. If it has a good story, then I'm excited about that. But I don't know. I'm not going to know that till I watch it. You know?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Anyways, a friend was hosting a Jane Austen watch party, and so I saw two versions of Persuasion: the 2007 one and the 1995. And my first review, I said, perhaps I judged the Beatles too harshly. And then the second one I wrote, British people are so boring. Um, yeah, British people are so boring, man. I don't get it. But anyways, that 2007 Persuasion, I finally understood because we had a conversation about like TV content, and I'm like, I don't understand the difference between TVs and movies, and you said, well, it's because in the past 10 years, the the game for TV has become almost equivalent to movies,
Mm-hmm.
or TV shows have become more cinematic. Well, and like, okay, I kind of get it because like I've never seen the Andy Griffith Show, but I can now imagine. Oh, that's literally just put a camera in someone's face. They say their lines for a cohesive story, but not necessarily for a cinematic venture. And I'm like, I get it now. Or sorry, no, like I started like thinking about that constantly. Like, okay, I kind of get it. You know what I mean? And then this,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and then this Persuasion movie was the most TV movie I've ever seen, and
The 2007 or the 95 one?
the 2007.
Ah, okay.
And I was literally like, I get it. I get it. Like it was like one significant thing I noted was, well, two things was poor lighting and poor camera work. Oh, and then also poor editing. Yeah. So it was like kind of thrown together. It feels like a TV movie, and I get it now, I guess. It is kind of interesting how like yeah, today like the lines have been blurred a bit of, a TV show and cinematic TV. It is interesting. But anyways, yeah, there wasn't a heavy effort dedicated to the 2007 Persuasion. However, the 95 Persuasion, there was effort, but also ironically not as charming. There were some charms that were in that 2007 one that the 95 one did not have. So I thought that was interesting. Anyways, rich British people are so boring. What do? Wake up, drink tea, go to a ball, walk around, twirl a little bit, go to bed. It's so boring. Screw them. Um, I
Okay.
in if the Beatles are in heaven, I'll give each of them a hug and I'll apologize
Oh.
because their music is not as bad as rich British people living their Groundhog Days. I still don't like the Beatles. Next movie I watched. This is a lot of stuff. I'm so sorry. Decision to Leave by the director of the movie Old Boy, which I have not seen. Old Boy, I've been like on the fence, like I want to watch Old Boy at some point, but and then I looked at the Korean rating, it's 18. Like, okay, I'll back up. I'll one day, but today's not that day. But the Decision to Leave is a 15, which also deals with murder. Made me think a little bit about Memories of Murder, but they're completely different movies. And I think this was my first movie from this director, and this director definitely has a bit of a visual style that I'm not used to, so that takes a little bit of time. I wasn't really fully able to digest the story a bit, so it's gonna be one of those movies that like hopefully second watch like I'll appreciate more. Um, Not that it's that complicated of a story. I guess like maybe there's just like I set my expectations wrong place. Maybe I don't know. But it's solid. If this interests you, then I recommend you watch it. Next up, I watched No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, and this
Oh.
is a movie that wasn't what it was marketed to be, which I thought was very interesting. The comedy is not strong. Like comedy comes from I think two sources usually in comedy movies. Three, okay, acting, and Jennifer Lawrence is a pretty good comedic actor. Um, Witty dialogue. The dialogue here is not witty. And three, absurdist occurrences. And there were a few, but not really a lot that really kept the movie going. It honestly leaned more into a general story than a comedy, which I thought was weird. So there's a little missed expectations there. And I haven't really taken a lot of time to try to digest it. And then lastly, comedian Matt Rife has a special on Netflix called Natural Selection, and it was not that good. He's a great crowd worker. His crowd working stuff, you watch his stuff like on TikTok or Instagram Reels, he's great at crowd work. I've watched his other 3 specials. The first 2 are more just typical comedy special type stuff where he's just a rambly storyteller, and it takes too long to get to punchlines. But as soon as the crowd yells something out, the energy shifts and he gets into this mode, and he's so good at responding. He's so good at crowd work. So I'll give him that. But this special has no crowd work whatsoever. The stories just take a little too long, not enough good punchlines. I recommend his TikTok content, but honestly, now one of his specials on YouTube, I think it's called Walking Red Flags. That one is pure crowd work, so that one's a lot of fun. Anyways, that's my list. I so apologize for taking so long. But
so, touching back on Old Boy,
mm-hmm.
There is some more graphical content in that. There's a very famous scene from that film where the main actor eats a live octopus on screen, and it's something. But yeah, that's the big thing. Plus, like some cool stunts happen in that film and action.
Have you seen the movie?
I've seen clips of the film, specifically in regards to like the action in the film.
Is it something you want to see?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
I'm just asking out of curiosity.
I don't really know anything about it, so outside of like I saw an actions thing and I've seen the octopus clip, and that's about it. Besides that, I don't really know anything or really care to see it. So give me like 2 years and maybe.
What about Snowpiercer? Now that I've recommended it.
See, I've been curious about Snowpiercer for a bit.
Okay.
Now, so I just haven't really felt like it was. Just looking at the posters and just like the imagery, it's like, it just looks kind of gray and not that interesting. So it just didn't really attract my attention. But
it's one of those stories where it's like it's movies. It's where it's the story that's the interesting part.
I'm especially like more curious about it because like there's like a TV show adaptation now.
Yeah.
Who's making that? Is that Amazon? I think it's Amazon.
No, it's not. It's a Warner-based thing. Is FX Warner or not? I don't know, but basically, like they shot the 4th season. It was supposed to be the final season, but I think Warner Brothers possibly tax wrote off as well. So that's what I'm hearing. So it was supposed to have 4 seasons. It only has 3. I'm hearing that the TV show is a lot more graphic, and again, the movie is based on a graphic novel from the French.
It's Disney.
And so then it's not FX. I don't know what it is then.
It's TNT.
I don't remember. TNT. There we go. So I think like the TV show might be more based on like more of the comic book ideas,
maybe,
or whatever. I do know the Parasite director, Mr. Bong. He was an executive producer on the show, so I think he did help get the TV show off the ground. But honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't really have interest in the TV show because again, I hear it's more graphic.
Oh sure, yeah.
In its violence and then also in its sexuality. So it's not
TNT
interesting
for you.
I mean, I don't know anything about TNT. The movie was good enough for me. I think that's one thing. Just in general, I really appreciate the art of a movie that it can be just one story told in 2 hours, and I don't have to watch a full-length TV show or something. You know what I mean? that I've seen some TV shows that are good, but also I don't feel like I don't feel like I've been fully convinced in the art of a TV show at the same time. Like I love Severance, but I like Severance and I'm like, give me more Severance content. I don't care if the show's 32 episodes of a season, you know what I mean? I just love the atmosphere. I don't care how long it takes. At least in my current state. Maybe watching through it first time, probably not.
You've also mostly been watching just not the highest level TV show stuff out there. Specifically stuff from recent years that you've been watching, like the Marvel stuff, plus
that's true.
Um,
yeah, I guess that's
Korean dramas. I guess.
Screw you. No, I think. Well, here.
Sorry, I mean like
no,
that's
you're fine.
just not that's not the standard.
I know. I'm just playing with you.
Yeah.
With Marvel, I 100% agree with what you're saying because I feel like most of these Marvel shows should have been movies. Ironically, Eternals and Thor: Love and Thunder should have been the TV shows. And then as it relates to Korean shows, I'll say this. This is something I really like about many Korean shows. Is that many of them are just miniseries, it's just one season. While a lot of American shows are like, oh, many seasons, you know what I mean? 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. If not, oh, dang it, Netflix canceled us. We can't finish our story. And I'm like, these Korean shows, it's like, oh, they just focus on one season, tell their story there, and that's that. And like, dang, I like that. Now, I'm not saying all Korean shows are only one season. There's shows with multiple seasons. But that's something like scrolling through Netflix I've seen, and I really appreciate. And I think that's one thing I'm looking forward to as I dive into some of these Korean shows where it's like, it's just one season. I can just watch and move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not worried about my season being canceled and I can't figure out what happens. You know what I mean?
Or it's like catching up on a 10-season show. Like me with Smallville.
Yeah.
That was a process.
Yeah. But yeah, also I do agree. I haven't seen a lot of TV shows that maybe are. I'm not gonna say
you've watched like a couple of episodes of like some stuff, but never.
Yeah. I think like in theory, it's not necessarily I've been watching bad shows. I don't think watching shows that have been the standard. I'll put it that way. You haven't
really been watching the traditional content considered to be television, just more the streaming world of television, essentially.
Yeah. Also, another thought is because I feel like streaming television is more like is telling a prolonged story like Severance. While there are shows like South Park that I see that are more individualistic in their episodes, and there are some storylines that cross over as time goes on, but like that I 100% see where it's like, oh, I can watch one random episode anywhere, and I don't have to have previous knowledge, or I can enjoy this isolated episode. Well, I can't do that with Severance. I can't really watch an isolated episode. But I also kind of see what you mean with that. But also, again, I haven't really seen a lot of things that are quote the standard.
Sure. Yeah. The standard, whatever that means.
I mean, you've seen more things than I have.
I've seen a lot. Yeah. I'm kind of next month. There's like tons of stuff. I guess I'll be seeing on Disney Plus.
What?
Specifically on Disney Plus. Like I'll be catching up on Loki. The new Doctor Who stuff is coming out, and it's like that'll be on Disney Plus. I'm excited. There was more, but I don't remember. It was probably like catching up. Yeah. What If season 2?
Oh yeah, that is happening.
Yeah, I don't really care about anything I saw, but the entire season is coming out in December. So
I think it's like one episode a day. You know what? I really like that release strategy, and I think for a show like What If, I think that really works.
Oh, I guess there's also this Santa Claus season 2. Like, so there's plenty of content for me to watch on Disney Plus in December when I get that thing.
So what is the main thing you're getting Disney Plus for?
So Doctor Who won. My mom has to finish Ahsoka.
Okay.
There's Loki that we gotta watch.
So your mom's coming for Christmas?
Yes, my mom and my sister. So
Okay.
we'll have the funs together, which is the fun, good stuff. But yes, yeah, that's what I got. That's what we've been watching. Am I getting into any other stuff? I don't know. Just watching more pony stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Watching more Monster High. And whatever thing we do next month when I remember to do it. Who knows? I don't remember. Like, things happen. I don't care. So, mixtapes. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For us talking in this episode. So, like, yeah, let's just get into our mixtapes. Um, I'll go first with your mixtape, I suppose. Would you like to tell the audience what you have this time around?
Yeah, I'm just playing it up right now.
Okay.
Apologize. So these were my favorite songs from June. So, I feel like looking at this list, this is not really a lot of artists that I typically listen to. So I feel like I was like just really like just looking for songs at the end of the month. Not to say I don't like these songs, but I think it's specifically like my the fifth song that I'll mention first. So the first song is called Pity Sex by Off-Road Minivan. I've honestly not even looked at the lyrics. I was just like, oh, it sounds fine. I'll put it on the list. I've listened to their first album, and there's some songs I like from it. There's one song I really like from it. It's called Carousel, I think. Carousel's in the name of it. But yeah. And then the fourth ranked song is Still Love by Teenage Wrist featuring Soft Cold. I don't think I've ever listened to Teenage Wrist before, but I like Soft Cold, so I listened to the song for them, and it didn't disappoint. And then the third ranked song is from a K-pop group called From Is 9 with the song Me Now, or hashtag Me Now. And From Is 9 is not a group I actively listened to before, but this song hit, and I really enjoyed it. And then one song that I heard before called DM really started to stick out, and I started to really enjoy that. And then one of the members of K-pop duo AKMU, Lee Chan-hyuk, I think is his name. He did a project called Lee Chan-hyuk video. That's in one word, and featuring the vocalist and one of the vocalists of ITZY, Chaeryeong, and Dori ni Fa Sol La Ti Do. That was the only song I listened to the project. So again, like everything I've mentioned is just like I've just listened to this one song. Like I like this enough on the list, but I like ITZY, and
Sure.
I respect AKMU. So and the song was nice enough. I tossed it on, and then Electric Cowboy with their cover of Every Time We Touch. And that also was just a one-off single. So none of these albums I listened to in full. I later listened to the From This 9 project in full. Yeah, that was a little bit of a haphazard month right there.
Sure. I mean,
basic thoughts?
Basic thoughts. I think basically on a baseline level, I enjoyed most of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're a decent vibe until we got to Every Time We Touch, where
it's so funny.
Where it was like, okay, it started out is like, okay, that's a decent vibe, and then the switch happens, and it's like, oh, this is Christopher. Yeah, we had to have one of those in here. It's like, okay. It kind of ruined like a song that was like, oh, that's decent. But the rest of them I thought were a decent quote unquote vibe where I'm not like fully in love, but I was like, oh yeah, that's decent enough.
Mm-hmm.
The first two were like, oh, that feels like very 2000s or just like that style of music. Like I was thinking, it's like, oh, it's like those Bionicle songs that I sent you like 2 years ago or something. I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting like that kind of vibe. I'm saying vibe a lot, but like I don't have another word right now to say.
You're good.
But like the K-pops are like, yeah, it's decent as well. Didn't really stand out to me as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think as a whole, decent vibe, except for the last one.
What was your favorite song?
It's uh probably the first one.
Okay.
That was
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Sweet.
think I paid less attention until I finally understood what the lyrics were for like, oh yeah, do re mi fa sol la ti do. That's what they're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Well, your mix.
So my mix was the pony mix, or just the songs that the ponies sing from the My Little Pony TV show. The score of the show itself is done by William Anderson. These songs were composed by Daniel Ingram, who who for this show was heavily inspired by like classical musical theater and whatnot. So the songs in this mixtape were Winter Wrap Up, the Fim Flam Cider Song, Smile Song, the This Day Aria, Raise This Barn, The Goof Off, Under Our Spell, Friendship Through the Ages, The Magic Inside, One Small Thing, A Better Way to Be Bad, and The Magic of Friendship Grows. There you go.
One thing I'll say, I was planning to listen to one additional song from the My Little Pony movie soundtrack because K-pop soloist CL, she was in a group called 2NE1, did a song on it apparently, and I've been wanting to listen to it. I was going to listen to it and I forgot about it, so I apologize.
Uh, who?
CL.
Oh. I've got the album in my hand in front of me. Let me see. No Better Feeling. Okay, yeah.
So I meant to listen to that. I might report on that next time if I remember. I don't know.
I mean that was just a random track they added to the album. Like it
I
had nothing
know.
to do with the film.
I don't care if
Uh,
it's on a Pony soundtrack. I wanted to listen to it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Anyways, you mentioned theater, and I had this critique. So this is unrelated to your comment, but it makes sense. But also, it still stands without whatever you said. Okay.
Sure.
Back earlier this year, I was working on a project at work with some my coworkers who like theater, and so at one point they just started playing random songs from random musicals.
Hmm.
And after a few hours, I was just, you know.
Sure.
The only musical I've seen is Hamilton, I believe.
Mm.
I've seen a little bit of the sequel of Phantom of the Opera. Is it Love Never Dies or something? I've
I don't
seen
know.
the first 30 minutes of that, which I really liked, honestly. I fell asleep. But and I had this thought even before I started working at Sight and Sound. I remember one day one of my sisters wanted me to play me a song from the Esther soundtrack. This was before I applied, or at least accepted the job, or at least went to work. I don't remember the timelines really.
Sure.
But she wanted to play me a song, and I said, you know what? I don't want to hear it. I want to watch the show and hear the song in its context, and then I'd be able to appreciate the song. Because those kind of songs are meant for its project. And yes, they can be enjoyed in isolation, and sometimes people appreciate things in isolation first before seeing the full thing. And I bet that's happened to me. I can't remember. But like if I can help it, like I don't really want to be
Yeah.
prior. And so yeah, theater, I do the same thing with like soundtracks of movies where I
Mhm.
kind of prefer not to listen to it until I watch the movie. And to be fair, I have a hard time picking up on the soundtrack from a movie. But I feel like if I'm familiar with the soundtrack, then when I watch the movie, I'm going to be distracted by the music. So I'd rather, in later rewatchings, really recognize the music and see how it plays with the movie. Um, so yeah, that is my main thing with this playlist. I have no real association with the ponies. I've not seen any of the content. I don't know the context of these songs. These songs are not necessarily casual songs.
No,
Um,
I mean, depending on who you are, sure, but
in a,
on a basic level, no, they're not.
right. In a general sense, like there's a in a theory, there's a greater chance of maybe one of the songs I played for you that we'd hear on the radio than maybe one of these songs. And I know I'm not completely right because I know sometimes soundtracks can be used in promotion to help promote a film, right? I think there's a decent chance that something like "The Magic of Friendship Grows" or has been used to help promote the ponies. I think that's like a decent song to be like, this is a taste of the show. You know what I mean? These are the morals that we teach and encourage.
Sure.
But I guess like something like the goof off, like in isolation, I'm just like, I that doesn't really add much to me. For example, I guess like something like the VeggieTales silly songs, those are not in relation to the episode. They can be very much be enjoyed in isolation.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I don't really get that spirit with most of these songs. So if I'm really being honest, not really any song stood out to me. I mean, I can remember things from certain songs, but um, yeah, like a common theme is not a lot of connection with these things, and yeah, it does feel like I've heard a unified but scattered random musical theater songs that I don't have a lot of context to, and
Mm.
don't at the end of the day don't really have a lot of appreciation for.
Yeah, I don't really typically listen to like musical theater stuff unless I'm like really familiar with the show and like have watched the show or enough of it where I would listen to. But I don't really care to listen to the musical theater. Ponies is like on my road trip mixtape. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm on a long road trip, I'll put on all the songs and I'll sing along with them. It's the most casual thing for me to just like
That's fair.
okay. It's the most casual thing I have. It's like okay, put on ponies. I know a lot of the words of the songs,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll sing along in the road. It's like yeah, da, da, da. Anyway, goof off. Did you notice? I don't know if anything stood out to you about the goof off, but there's one of these songs. It's the goof off. There is a special guest that you may or may not recognize.
Okay, I thought I heard a voice, and I couldn't place it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was a male voice, right?
It was a male voice.
You want to give me a hint?
It's it's a theme that we've been doing for the past couple mixtapes.
Animation?
No,
We had Batman and anime.
we're missing one big one.
Star Wars?
Oh, I was hoping that you'd get this right off the bat.
You know what? I'm gonna pull up the song. I'm just gonna listen. I'm
You,
just gonna
you know,
see.
you watch the film. Uh, you know, maybe you'll get it as soon as you hear the song, but like it's similarly written to those other songs in the mixtapes. So, I'm excited, in anticipation, waiting. Do you get it? Do you not? I assume he's listening. His face is like looking very serious.
Oh, Weird Al.
It's Weird Al.
Okay,
Yes.
I had that thought. I'm like, that sounds like Weird Al.
Hmm.
Nah, it's an impersonator. No way, it's him.
Yeah. No. Weird Al guest starred in a couple episodes of the show, and
Okay, that's fun.
oh, we're gonna have Weird Al. Let's write a song for him to do in the show. It's like, of course, and yes, that that was the one song. It was like, I noticed a pattern in these last few mixtapes. All right, I'm gonna add this one song in. I wasn't going to, but now that I see that Weird Al is like part of the last few, it's like I'm gonna have to add this one, and
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed the voice and I thought that, and like I feel like not necessarily that I'm not saying that Weird Al's voice is easy to replicate. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like with a show of cartoon characters, one can easily sound like Weird Al, especially for me as a casual who doesn't really know Weird Al's voice.
Oh,
I'm like, that does sound like Weird Al. No way, it's him. It is. Dang.
It's him. Like he does a surprising amount of cartoons.
Okay.
It's like when people see him in the shows, like, oh, that's surprising. Not really. Like he's in a lot of cartoons. This is probably just the most blatant one where it's like, I never expect to see him in this show in particular. Want to point out another song.
Well, just one question. Was he a pony?
He was a pony.
Fun. All right. What's
pony
next?
Specifically designed to look like Weird Al, so which was fun. And so the song "This Day Aria," a lot of people really like this one, but this song is really clever in that its music theory is like it parallels like the plot of the episode in that in music you have something called a cadence and a deceptive cadence. And in this episode where the song plays, you have a character named Cadence, but there's someone else who is impersonating Cadence, and they're both singing this song. And so you have a moment in this song where you have the real Cadence, and that's where the cadence happens in the song. But the song ends with the deceptive cadence, and it's like, oh, wow, they just, for some reason, went all out on this one cartoon song. It's really cool when you know it, but like it's whatever. It's like a cool tidbit.
That's pretty cool. I think it's really cool, like seeing how much effort they put into it. That's really cool.
It is really cool. Yeah, I enjoy a lot of the songs from the show, if not almost all the songs from the show. So it was difficult to find a good balance of like close enough you can listen to these songs by themselves, but also give the best hits of the songs. So
I feel like This Day Aria was one of the more like normal songs, dare I say?
Normal. Okay.
You like if I just heard it in isolation, I would probably think it was just a normal song. You know what I mean?
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
In terms of like what would be one of my favorite songs on this one, it would probably be Friendship Through the Ages for like some emotional crap that I had during the time or whatever. But I enjoyed most of them all. So yay! You got through it and you didn't die.
I didn't die.
What a blessing. But yeah, so we're getting to like the end game of my playlist here. We only have 2 more playlists for me to give you. And so my next playlist for you is my random mixtape.
Okay.
In that it's just a random assortment of songs that just didn't quite fit or just weren't able to fit, or there was just like overflow from the other mixtapes. Or how I will describe this is that it's a random assortment of songs that will just pop in my head out of nowhere with no context, and I'll be like, okay, then I'll start humming or whatever. But yeah, this set of songs are Seek from the game Among Us. It's the newest thing here. It's like it's from their new hide and seek game mode. It has a pretty cool song that goes with it. The ending theme for the Powerpuff Girls. A cover of the song "Come On Eileen" from the band Save Ferris. Don't Stop, a Fat Rat remix, but this specific mixtape includes a music video that I first found this song to. The Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, a Daft Punk song. Then Strike First, extended from Cobra Kai. It's the end credits song that plays, and like I really enjoyed. Ain't nobody got time for that. The auto tune remix from like a decade of old. It's old meme stuff. A song called Trixie's Good Side. It's the Last Pony thing related, but in general, I included this specific artist. His name is Matt R because his most popular remix song called Flutter Wonder was like marked as made for kids by YouTube, and like he was upset about that, so he changed the name of the song of his title to like YouTube Bring Back My comments, and he also blurred out the entire video in revolt against that. And they did eventually give back the comments, but I was listening to his other stuff because of that, and I was like, oh, this one song stood out to me, and it like just got stuck in my head, and so it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. Next is a song called My Love is a Star from a brand new artist, Christian Santiago, who was actually my coworker. And I was originally planning on having this be its own mixtape, but he doesn't have enough songs to justify a mixtape. So I was gonna do like a cheeky thing where it's like, oh, here's this mixtape from this new artist, Christopher. It's like, oh, I'll let you listen to that, and then have him guest star in an episode and like not tell you that it was him. And it's like, oh, he also listened to the mixtape. So Christopher, can you tell us what you thought about this mixtape? And like you would trash on it and be like, okay. So by the way, here's the artist and all that. But since we graduated and scheduling conflicts and all that, it's not going to happen. So I decided just to add it here. This is one of his newest songs that I really enjoyed listening to.
Okay.
Next song is Wavin' Flag, the Coca-Cola celebration mix from Kanan Warsum. This is one of the 2010 World Cup themes that you probably heard at some point. I guarantee it. Then Yakko's World from Animaniacs, a popular one. I'll talk more about that song when we actually do listen to it. And the last song of this mixtape is Fallen Kingdom, a Minecraft parody of Coldplay's Viva La Vida, which I know that song more from this parody than the original. And every time the original plays in the store, because it plays all the time at Kroger, I'm like, oh, I get excited thinking it's this song, but it's not. It's like, oh, okay.
So how many songs is that?
This is 12.
Okay. So can I do something? Since we're kind of like reaching the end of like these mixtapes, can I start combining?
Combining what?
Because I was just giving you 5. Can I combine 2 months?
You may, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna give you July and August. So in July,
yeah, no, that's fine.
Going 5 to 1, we have Itzy's Bet on Me, Sound Plan's Antimatter, Ives I Want, New Jeans, which you've already heard, and Nmix's Roller Coaster. Then in August, we have Malfa Wars Under the Gun. Triple S's subunit, Lovelution, their song Girls Capitalism. Guan Unbi, The Flash. Stacy, Bubble. And then Kyle Gordon as DJ Crazy Times, Planet of the Bass.
Okay.
So the July one is very K-pop heavy.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Just as long as you don't send that to me like 10 minutes before the recording this stuff.
I'll try to get on this soon. So
yes. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the mixtapes we have for next time. I guess we should also we're getting to the end of our mixtapes, and so probably now is a good time to just announce this and mention this, is that the next couple episodes will probably be our last episodes in this podcast. Like, we've been doing this for, oh my gosh, like almost 4 years, 3 years at least. We started in 2019.
Yeah, so that's 4.
Almost 4 years, which is, it doesn't feel that long. We've talked about a lot of crap. And right now, I'm running out of mixtape material. We've been just like on our back foot, just trying to keep up with all of this stuff. And like, we've been struggling with like not enough news sometimes. And so we feel like it's a good time to probably just let things slow down, go back to where this podcast originally was like, we'll create an episode when we have something important to say, something we want to do, back to like the old top 5 lists, or if a Marvel movie comes out that we really enjoy, hence a Spider-Man film or something, we can do an episode. But for now, we're looking to just close off our bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, whenever we feel like doing this thing sometimes, event of just us rambling and talking about music in the most non-critiquish way that we could. But this gives us a chance to just not have our only interaction be on the podcast. Like, we can just call at randoms. I did this weird thing like a month ago where I just called you out of nowhere, but it was like I was just hanging out with my cats. It was a good weather. I was like, it's a good day. I should check up on Christopher. And I called. I didn't expect you to be there, but it's like, I'll see what happens.
And then I called you back, and then you didn't answer.
You called me while I was recording a podcast. You called me at like a very bad time.
I don't remember when you called me. I just looked at my phone like, oh, you called? Interesting. I'll call back when I can. And then you didn't answer, and then you didn't say anything about it, so I just left it. But yeah, also like for me, like with my full-time job, like it's been busy. I mean, next year is not going to be as busy because it'll be a second year run for Esther, but this year has been harder for me to stay on top of doing episodes, and so that's also been a major reason.
So the current plan going forward is that we'll have our last 2 episodes of just the mixtapes and whatever news, and then we'll have a final commemorative episode where we just do a retrospective of our overall time of doing the podcast or whatever crap we feel like talking about. It'll be New Year's when we record that, so that should be fun. And then we'll go back into cryostasis and just chat offline like good friends instead of just weird coworkers like we're doing right now. So there we at. Sad for like the 2 people who are consistently listening or whatever, but it's been a long time, and it's about time.
Yeah,
we think about other stuff.
At the end of the day, like if you do want more stuff from us, like there will still be some episodes from this podcast, specifically from John. I don't know how often I'll pop up, but like you said, occasionally there might be the occasional episode. John himself has a YouTube channel, Lego JPL Studios. So he has been releasing videos there. I've not been active with my YouTube channel, but I intend to upload again at some point, probably next year. I've not uploaded anything at all this year. And then also I've been helping with Semper Metalum. So you can find us specifically on Instagram, but other platforms as well. Yeah. So again, those are a few places where you can find us if you do truly love us and do want to support us.
And it's like I'm doing a whole another podcast, the binging Barbie podcast.
It's hard doing too.
I mean,
it's actually that's another thing. Also, next year, I'm going to be looking into developing a podcast myself. I'll probably just say I might give information about it in our last episode, but I'm going to be working on developing a podcast next year, which wasn't on our radar when we first discussed this. It'd been an idea floated, but not official. But yeah, so surprise! I'm because again, like that wasn't a factor when we made this decision, but now it is.
No, yeah, but. Thank you everyone for listening so far, and like we hope that our last few episodes we have planned, at least that should be the statement, planned, will be good enough for you guys. So with that, let's leave you all here, all sad and mopey. You have like the next few episodes to like enjoy or whatever. Do something good with your life. Touch some grass in the cold. Anyway, Thank you all for listening, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.